Green and Fleming, and Councilor Boschman and Councilor Zarella have already contacted me stating that they will not be in attendance this evening due to prior commitments. We will start with 14118, in order that there being hereby is appropriated the sum of $9,500, same to be charged against available funds and credited to DPW Highway Personal Services Summer Help. Commissioner Laxo.
Last fall, we hired a couple of temporary workers to supplement our pothole crews, and it worked out really well. So we're continuing that this spring, and from now on, we'll just build it into our annual budget. But you know, there's no shortage of potholes to deal with this year and every year, and it's been a big help to have them working with us. You know, this will.
Motion made and seconded to accept 14118. All those in favor? Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
14218, in order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $10,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to assessor expense contracted services.
Good afternoon, councilors. For the record, AJ Turigny, Chief of Staff to Mayor Di Natale, and a happy Tuesday. This $10,000 appropriation was in reference to when the contracted services, when we appropriated the money, or transferred the money rather, from personal services to contracted services within the assessing department. We knew we would be have a shortfall as we did not expect Mr. Wilson to retire when we did the budget the beginning of the fiscal year. So we could not plan for his sick time buyback. So this is to finish off the fiscal year with the contracted services for the assessing department.
Motion to approve 14218.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 14218. All those in favor? Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
councilors.
14318, order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security earmark, MGL Chapter 47 Acts of 2017, in the approximate amount of $50,000 for the purpose of said earmark, which is to support handicap accessibility improvements at the police station, as well as camera and door security upgrades at the police station and city parking garages. Chief Martineau.
Thank you, councilors. Good evening. Last year, I reached out to State Representative Stephen Hay, and I was asking for some assistance from the state on a couple of projects I was attempting to get underway at the police department. Our security surveillance system is extremely inadequate at the police department. It's 31 years old, and we're looking to replace some of the cameras within the building, specifically around the outside, inside the cell block. And as I was talking, I had conversation with the mayor's office, and we're looking to expand our camera capability to some of our parking garages in the city. So last year we did a little bit of research, and we had a rough number of the funds that we were looking to obtain to upgrade the different security camera system. In addition, we've been exploring the opportunity of making the police department more accessible to our handicap population here in the city. And there was a couple of projects we were looking to get underway, and the beginning of the project is to get an architect into the police department and start the drawing so we can at least have an idea of where we're going with this project. So I gave my needs to Representative Hay, and he included it last year as an earmark in the state's operating budget. Fortunately, it was able to survive the governor's 9C cuts, and we were notified about a month and a half ago that our $50,000 request was still there. And thanks to Representative Hay, I'm in front of your body tonight looking for approval to expend these funds.
Chief, on the handicap accessibility improvements, am I understanding correctly, this will begin the initial architect and kind of studies of the improvements, and then you'll be coming back before us at the conclusion of that, looking for a capital.
This is
capital
truly,
request.
yes, this is the design stage. I have something in mind, what I'd like to provide at the police station, greater handicap parking, ease of handicap to get into the building, and actually bringing our records bureau downstairs to the main floor, so people that are coming in don't have to traverse upstairs. in the long term, that this would be a great improvement to the police department.
Right, and on the security side and the camera improvements, is this something just out of, I guess, curiosity and logistics? Do you work with Trevor Bonilla in IT, or is this something? Is it security at the police station dealt with internally, and it's a different set of technology?
I'm not sure there's an easy way to answer it. Number one, everything has to go through Trevor's department as an IT subject. This will have IT implications to it. We've had several projects. Our cameras now are maintained, we do a lot of maintenance with a local vendor through High Tech Homes, Mr. Nemi, and some of the councilors may be familiar with him. He has done some work for us in the past. Depending on the scope of the project, it may have to go out to bid for procurement reasons. We're not at that stage yet, but we're moving in that direction. So the first step is to get the money ready to spend, and then we're to start going down the process of exactly, but there will be an IT component to it.
And the reason I asked is often when you upgrade your hardware, there's often, it necessitates improvement of your software on the other end, and just making sure that, before we get all the equipment in there, that, everything's compatible with our systems and the necessary hardware inside the police station. But otherwise, these are certainly worthwhile and needed improvements, so you'll have my support. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Councilor Squally.
Do you have an estimate on what the total will cost, after this 50,000 is spent, with the security cameras everywhere that you want to do? And then the design, what of the approximate cost of the design for the handicap accessibility into the police station? How much more do you anticipate it will cost after this initial gift?
Yep, great question. We did some soft numbers last year because the representative asked me what I was looking for. We did some soft numbers, and we believe somewhere in the range of $30,000 to $35,000 in upgrades in our security camera systems. And I'm hoping that the remaining $15,000 will accommodate our architectural designs to get us to a point where if there is a funding available, that we can send out RFPs for greater clarity on how much this project will cost. Last year, we did apply for a handicap accessibility grant. Unfortunately, we didn't receive it. It's my intent to apply again this year. If we're
With plans in place?
With plans in place, which will be a significant addition to our application this year. We can apply for that in September. So it's my hopes that once that's in place, we may be that more competitive for this grant application.
So you're anticipating this 50,000 will cover everything for this first phase of the design and everything you'd want to do with your security cameras?
It's my intention. Right now, the security cameras are probably the most important thing to get those back up to where they should be for 2018. But I have to keep a close eye on the accessibility project because that's extremely important to me as well.
Is there any security camera monitoring of any of our existing parking garages now?
Parking garages, no.
And this is what that is for?
This is part of it, where I'm looking to provide some camera access in the 2 garages that we own currently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to adopt 14318.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 14318. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is unanimous.
Thank you.
14418, in order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the New View Communities gift in the approximate amount of $45,000 for the purpose of said gift, which is for the reconstruction of various sidewalks on High Street and Marshall Street. Also have present this evening Councilor Donnelly, Commissioner Laxo.
Thank you. Yeah, New View Communities, through their work with Reimagine North of Maine, received a grant, and they've set aside some of it for new sidewalks on High Street between Johnson and Elm, and on Marshall Street between Johnson and Simons. The sidewalks are being built by the DPW. It works in well with other work that's going on in the area. Unitil is installing new gas mains on Marshall and High Street, and the city's going to be paving part of Marshall Street also as soon as we finish with the sidewalk. So the timing is good, and it's a good project.
So, Commissioner Laxo, I know you've been listening to me complain about these sidewalks and that street for years, so I'm sure you're happy just to not only to get these projects done, but to get me off of your back over these over these issues. You know, these are among the worst sidewalks in the city, coupled with among the highest population density areas in the city. So it's sorely needed, and thrilled that New View Communities has provided some funding towards these necessary improvements. So thank you for you and your department's effort.
Thank you.
Commissioner, could you give us some idea as to when this might take place? I mean, do you have a timeline for the?
Yeah, actually, we've already started on the
The actual-
sidewalks, so.
Oh, okay.
So it's,
Great.
it's already underway.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Motion to approve 14418.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 14418. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. 14518 and 14618, taking them together. Order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection Clean Energy Results Program, GAP 2, funding grant in the approximate amount of $200,000 for the purpose of said grant, which is for the design, purchase, installation, and other ancillary work on an inline turbine at the Water Division's Narrows Road Pressure Reducing Valve Station. And 14618, in order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Clean Energy Grant in the approximate amount of $78,357 for the purpose of said grant, which is for the design, purchase, installation, and other ancillary work of an inline turbine at the Water Division's Narrows Road Pressure Reducing Valve Station. Deputy Commissioner of Water, DeLine.
Good evening, councilors. These two grants, we applied for them last fall, late last year, and basically it's going to allow the installation of a turbine in the water main that comes down, or transmission main that comes down from the plant in Westminster at our Narrows Road pressure reducing station. Currently, I mean, we have large pressure reducers there that basically waste the energy, similar to a small one you'd have in your house to mitigate the high pressure. With this turbine, we'll be basically harnessing that energy to generate electricity. As the water flows through and comes down, we'll actually generate electricity with that turbine. The $200,000 grant was the maximum that Mass DEP would provide under their funding under the GAP 2 funds. And we were able to get a little over $78,000 from the Mass Clean Energy Center as part of this project. Our net cost is going to be around $84,000, and the savings per year in electricity will be just over $10,000. It's a project that, if we just did on our own, it wasn't really feasible because it's a, couple decades payback. So we're, fortunate to be able to get this to actually install this. However, in addition to installing the turbine, this building also needs some work. So when we do this turbine, we actually take the roof off, which needs to be replaced anyway, to get the turbine, take out the pressure reducing valve, which is 24 inches in diameter, and put the turbine in. So we're going to be doing some rehab work to the building, which was needed anyway as part of this project. So it's a win-win because, we're going to get this installed, generate electricity, and also do work to the building that was needed anyway.
Is the $84,000 net cost to the city, is that inclusive of the rehab of the building?
Yes.
Councilor Squalia.
So it's 84,000 net cost after we get the 200,000. Does that include the 78,000 too?
It's 207. The whole project is 362,000. So there's a 78,000 from CAC and then 200,000 from Mass DEP plus our 84,000.
Okay, and that includes the roof, and it's a 10,000 per year payback, approximately from the. This is the 10 kilowatt hydroelectric pump as turbine
Yes.
generation system?
Yeah. So we'll generate about 10,000. Not a lot of electricity, in the grand scheme of things, but it'll help to offset some of the costs in our budget. So, and like I said, we'll be harnessing energy that just wasted through a pressure reducing valve there now. And maybe if the flows do go up in the city, we really, we're hoping we're at a low point in the last couple of years. If we do get more users and more water use, that savings will go up.
So an 8-year payback, and then it's 10,000 a year plus we have a new roof.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Donnelly.
Many years ago, I asked why we couldn't put a turbine in the lines coming down. And they said something about contamination. Did something change?
I think it just wasn't cost feasible to do it on our own, but as far as contamination, I mean, we're just, spinning a turbine in the water there,
So as the water goes down, when it goes down a river, they can have one dam and another dam, another water wheel. Could we put a series, or it's just not cost
No,
effective?
basically, all the energy is gonna be used to turn this one turbine in line, so, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to adopt 145 and 146-18.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 145 and 146-18. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Last on the agenda, the last two items, 147-18, order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs Drinking Water Protection Program grant in the approximate amount of $137,500 for the purpose of said grant, which is for the purchase of property on Piper Road in Ashby and for the costs of purchasing a conservation restriction on a certain parcel of land on Crocker Road in Ashby. And 148-18, order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $137,500 to be charged against fund balance reserve for land purchases and credited to water capital expenditures land purchases.
This is a project that came before the council last year, where we actually voted to approve the funds for these properties. So this is kind of a cleanup of the finances, because it was just accepting the funds, so now we need to be able to expend the full amount for this project. I put around a handout that the first page shows where the properties are located. Originally, there was 4 properties last year, but now we're down to 2 properties because 2 of the property owners backed out for a couple different reasons. One of them was they thought they could get more money elsewhere, and we weren't able to negotiate a price that they were happy with, and we were limited by what the property was assessed at. The other property owner had some other difficulties with a mortgage, so that was the issue there. But the remaining 2 properties, one of them, the Crocker property, you can see at the bottom, tract 3, that's about 28 acres that we'd get a conservation restriction on, and the Kraft property we're actually going to purchase, which is tract 1 up in the upper right-hand part of the page. That one's about 26 acres. So, and each of these, as you can see, there's, the blue lines in there basically are tributaries to Fitchburg Reservoir up in that area. So they are key properties as far as protecting the water quality to that reservoir and preventing the development of these parcels. The second page basically gives an overview of what's owned in the area, where the reservoir is, what we own, and some other protected parcels, so you can see how those do fit in with those other parcels that we already own. The last page is the budget for these 2 parcels, and basically we're getting reimbursed for some of the due diligence work, but essentially the overall cost of the project is $256,600 estimated, and it's going to require $108,000 plus from the city of Fitchburg's, basically their funds that are set aside for land purchases, which we have about $336,000 in. So we're essentially able to protect almost 60 acres of land by spending $108,000, with the state reimbursing the balance of it through this grant.
Motion to approve 147 and
Would like to
148-18.
speak prior to the motion?
Withdraw my motion.
Sorry?
Sorry?
Yep. Oh, okay. Counsel Squalia.
On your map, all the green blocked area, that's land that is owned by the city of Fitchburg?
Yes.
And all the hatched green, is that land that we own a conservation restriction on? And so we are trying to purchase as much land around the reservoir area. Is that the future goal?
Yes, that's what we're hoping to do. And this reservoir actually flows down into Lovell Reservoir, which is where the treatment plant is on Ridge Road. So this watershed area is basically from the Fitchburg Reservoir watershed area down through there. So I don't have the actual watershed limits depicted on this because it actually goes outside of there. We have, Zone A, Zone B, Zone C, but we're looking at trying to protect anything that's within, the watershed area, particularly the ones that are in the closest proximity to the reservoir.
Closest proximity would be Zone A.
Yes.
And how much of Zone A do we currently have protected?
I don't have that figure for you.
Yeah, approximately around this map that we have, what would a
I would
future
say
goal?
probably, I'd say 60 to 70%.
60-70% we have protected in Zone A. And we have 336,000 in a fund right now to purchase
Right.
land?
Yes.
And so we are expending 108,000 from that fund that we already have,
Right.
net, after we get the 137,000 from the state.
Right. Well, the 137, basically it's total overall cost of the project, and we'll get reimbursed for that. It's higher than what the actual project budget is, because we did find, I should back up a little bit, on track one, the craft parcel, we did find a barrel of unknown waste on that property, and we've been investigating it with one of our consulting firms. We've actually done test holes. We think it's just limited to that barrel. The barrel did have some PCBs in it, and we think it was just limited to a small area. We didn't find any other disposal, so there may be some costs with cleaning up a small area of soil, so some of that. And the state will reimburse 50% of that cost of the cleanup, so it's a plus to get this property. And then and while we were looking at this property, we found this potential, contamination that could have, eventually affected the water supply, so.
So the state will reimburse 50% of a hazardous waste cleanup for a watershed,
Under this grant program.
under this grant program?
Yeah.
Okay, and the goal of this is all to protect our water quality.
Correct. So we control this, and so somebody doesn't take barrels like they did this time around. This barrel's been there for a while, but it basically decayed over time and, exposed some of whatever was inside of it, which was a solid waste. Looked like paint pigments, but it did have PCBs in it. So those are the type of things we want to prevent from occurring in the future and protect the water supply. And basically to do that, we have to control it, so.
Thank you.
President Kuchmarek.
Just a point of inquiry, our assistant city solicitor was about to, I believe, correct me on a motion. I'd just be curious if you
No,
finish
I
that thought.
was just going to have the motion be resolved either by a second or by failing it before there was further discussion on the question. So,
Thank you. It said, make a motion to approve 147 and 14818.
Motion made and seconded to approve 147, 14818. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Motion
I
to
just
adjourn.
wanted to, before we adjourn, I just wanted to make a quick plug for the Fitchburg DPW. DPW Day is Wednesday, June 6th, between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock at the Yard at 301 Broad Street, Fitchburg. It's an open house event, and this week is National Public Works Week, 20th to the 26th of May. And the theme of this year's National Public Works Week is the power of public works, and to help recognize the impacts that the many facets of public works has on our modern civilization. So I just wanted to put that little plug in there for Mr. Laxo and his organization. Thank you.
To adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We adjourn. Thank you.